Alright guys, I'm back. Hello and welcome to this particular workshop. I'm just going to get things up and running off screen. Gonna just double check to make sure the stream is actually online, which it seems to be. Excellent stuff. Gonna share the link and we're gonna hop into this. It's gonna be a continuation of yesterday's workshop whereby we looked at how to program 2D games. Oops, I'm on the wrong link there. We learned how to program 2D games for C#, utilizing Win2D, which is a Microsoft published library which leverages the power of Direct2D APIs, or the Direct2D library, which you can find under the DirectX, the overall DirectX umbrella itself. I'm just gonna quickly see if I can just access things. My laptop is a little bit slow right now because I'm running a lot of applications at once. So as I always disclaim, if anything does happen during the stream, such that the connection is lost, or maybe I don't know, the computer's really slow, or I don't know, there's interruptions, don't worry, I'll do my best to come back up and running as soon as I can. But yeah, I'm just gonna, if this is not going to let me go through, which it doesn't look like it will be, I'm just gonna leave it off screen. I'm having some issues with the internet. So let's continue. Let's just get straight into this. I do hope the stream is stable. Yes, it looks like it's running. Excellent stuff. Sorry about that, guys. Let me just quickly check my OBS. Seems to be running. Alright, guys, so as you can see by the splash screen over there, I am hosting the Learn C# Masterclass. And what this is, it's a program offered on the channel and is also offered on as its own thing, basically. And as the name suggests, it's a masterclass series for learning C#. Now, it's sort of in the pilot stage, so the topics are not exactly set in stone, but it's still under this particular program. And as I kind of get a feel for what's working and what's not working, I'm going to refine the curriculum such that there can be a definitive fundamental section and then a definitive more intermediate section. I'm even thinking of basically implementing a video games development section, as I'm doing with this particular episode, such that if you want to learn how to develop, build, debug, and deploy, publish modern Windows PC games, in particular 2D ones written using C# and as little middleware as possible, so no like Unity editor or anything like that, just raw code and things like that. I'm looking to implement that. So please do give me your feedback in all of this, what you think and what you believe you might find quite useful. So without much further ado, let's just get straight into this particular workshop. Now, I'm sensing the computer is going to be a little bit slow, so do bear with me. But where did we leave up from last time? I don't want to run the program straight off, but I probably will. But then again, it might just really slow things down. I suggest you watch the previous two entries in this series. It's titled very similarly to this video, but the only discrepancy is that there's a part 1, part 2, and this is part 3. And you'll be up to speed with what's going on here. What I did in the last episode is that we went over this animate sprites functionality, which basically allows us to pass in through the overloads some parameters, such as the sprite sheet in question, the animation frames that we're interested in running, so the speed of the animation of the sprite, a lower index. So if you have, again, if I use this little notepad as a example, if this is our sprite sheet consisting of 4 frames, and they have different contexts, so maybe the first 2 is a running animation, and the last 2 is an idle animation for a character, the lower frame index means we can target which range we want. So we can say lower index is 2, upper index is 4. So we're only going to target these 3 frames. That's what these parameters are for. I've got the functionality down here, the implementation of this animate sprites function. And then what happens is that in the animated draw functionality, which is hooked to the event of the draw call for the animated canvas. Obviously with Win2D we're dealing with the animated canvas here. What that means is that every time the draw call is called, then animated draw is fired. And when this happens, we have a bit of validation So his initialization logic, if the sprite sheet is null basically, then we want to request the sprite sheet from the load animated resources class. Already gone through this for the last 1 or 2 workshops. What I want to kind of draw your attention to is the fact that animate sprites function, we're calling it, we're passing its return value as an overload to the draw image function, which is from the drawing session property, which you can access via the canvas animated draw event args, which is passed from the overload of animated draw. Okay. Now, all that implementation that I showed you earlier, just now, for the animating of the sprites and how I explained the parameters, how they work, all of that is just kind of plug and play. So we put that in to, I'll see if I can get it up on IntelliSense. There's 19 overloads for the draw image function, and we are using we're using the overloads for number 2 out of 19. So we're passing a canvas bitmap, which is what the animate sprites function actually returns, and then a destination rect. And the rect struct is basically the bounds and dimensions of the sprites that we want to render on the screen. In this case, it's called player rect. And I give it some initial values of height and width, which is 120, 120 respectively. And it's constructed in the constructor as well. I'm constructing the rect struct in the constructor of this class. Right, so what we want to do today, kind of bouncing off making the scene interactive, because when we hit the D key, I programmed it from the last episode that the rabbit kind of moves across the screen, very rudimentary, if that's the correct way to say that, in a rudimentary fashion. So what I want to do today is animate the player character, which is the bunny, with multiple sprites. So you know what, it will be best if I just fire this up. I'm not sure how long this will take, so let's hope it just doesn't take too long. And so far it's just one frame that I'm passing. I'm passing one frame of animation. So you don't really see an update, you don't see a difference because it's just a single frame. But I do have in my directory, if I can find my working directory here, I'm just off screen. In my working directory, I have a rabbit folder, and I have some frames of animation. So I have stand 0, 1, 2, 3, such and so forth. I've got jump and running animations. So what I intend to do is to pass stand 0 through to stand 8 dynamically, and then I'm going to render the frames, and so that's what we're going to see. So I'm just going to wait for UWP. Again, I'm using the Universal Windows Platform target in order to help build the front end here. And it's just taken a little while, so we'll just have to wait a little patiently. Here we go. I shouldn't really be doing that. Anyway, it's not healthy to do that, is it? Anyway, so as you can see on the screen, we have the bunny sprite, and it's being rendered accordingly. If I hit the D key on the keyboard, the bunny sprite moves. Obviously, it's a little bit glitchy there. I need to adjust the parameters properly, but the rabbit translates across the screen. Okay? So I'm going to cross that out, and we're going to work with this. We're going to build from here. So the next thing I want to do is import the other sprite animations, the other frames, so stand 1 till 8, and make the bunny appear to be moving around as the bunny is in idle state. Okay, so how do we do this? If you've been following through these tutorials, you will know that in the load animated resources is where the magic happens in terms of loading sprites. And what I'm gonna have to do, I have a list called asset file paths, and it keeps a record in memory of the file paths of the frames of animation. So all I'm gonna do is just import all the other frames of animation, then pass them to memory and return a bitmap object. So what I'll do, I'll copy this line. Oh wait, but it's not jump I want, it's definitely stand, which is very fascinating. I wonder why. Okay, I get it. Okay, no problem. Because I was wondering why the jump animation looks like a stand animation, because the first frame is standing still. But I'll change that to stand 0 instead of jump 0. So because of the nature of the way I structure the code, making these kind of modifications is not too difficult. It doesn't break the code per se. So I can say something like stand underscore. Which is all we need to do, because I'm going to dynamically allocate the frames via the algorithm below, which you'll see soon. But all I need to know, make a note of how many frames are in the list, how many frames are in this sprite animation, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 frames of animation. So I'm going to change that to 9. So I'm going to change this as well. Rabbit standing frame, this animation has 9 frames. Okay, so now that we've done that, I want to go down here. Nothing to really change around here. Everything is dynamically allocated. So I think that's fine for the most part. So if I were to perhaps run this in debug mode, let's run that. Hopefully it won't take too long. Hopefully we can expose what's going on under the hood of the program. It'd be quite fascinating to see if we're parsing the file paths accordingly. So I'm just waiting for UWP to load. It's taking a hot minute on UWP. It's likely we won't go through all of the top milestones here because of the sheer fact that it will take a while. It will literally take hours. It's better to break it down into parts, but it doesn't stop me from just like outlining the roadmap, if that makes sense. And I believe that the program is just about to load. There we go. I'm not too sure if I hit a break already. No, I haven't. It's just the program's still loading. So I'm going to just give this a minute so that it can load up properly, and then we can continue with the tutorial. Shouldn't take too long now. Okay, it looks like we hit our break. So I'm going to go ahead and expose sprite local file path list. I'll go to the watch list, but you probably won't see it because of the way the screen is. Okay, IntelliSense is up. So we have one, yeah, everything looks good. So we have one list, we have 9 entries, and from 0 to 8, we have stand 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so there's an issue there. I think I should be using index 2 here. I put index 1, but really index 2, which is this range, and for the inner list, is basically respective to how many frames are in the animation and the animation set. So I'm going to change that to index 2. And I'm going to restart the program. I'm going to see what happens now. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, let me see my notes quickly. So what I'm looking to maybe go through today is the animation, which we're doing right now, and creating actual animation frames that are animated on the screen. I'm not sure about parallax in background today because I only have sprite art assets pertaining towards like terrain and the rabbit, but not really like a background or anything like that. But I can probably get a hold of that or make some assets. Simple physics might be today, it might not be. This might be a shorter session. I usually tend to aim for like 1 hour at least. And the program is just loading up. Just allow the program to do what the program needs to do. And I hit my break, so I'm going to go ahead and expose sprite local file path list again. Got one list, 9 entries, and yeah, I've rectified the issue. So I have stand 0, 1, 2, all the way to stand 8 PNG files. Alright, that's fine. So now the next step, if I enter my draw class, I'm going to stop the program first. Now that the sprite sheet has been passed, I need to just set the arguments. So I'm going to go at a speed of 2, animating on 2s. So I'm going to change that to 2. I'm going to change this to 2 as well. And I'm going to set the range from 0 to 8. Like that. Okay, and the rest is fine. So what I'll do, I'll run the program again. Yeah, I got rid of the break. So my program shouldn't take too long to load. Let's go back to the load animated resources class. Actually, better to stay on the drawer. Like a little mocker earlier. Okay, so the program is loading up. Just gonna wait a few more seconds, shouldn't be too long. Okay, what do we have here? Looks like we have an exception. Is there an exception going on? Ooh, I just realized something. Okay, I had a little error there, so I'm just okay. Okay, so it looks like there's a file missing. Zero to 8 stand. I'm guessing that what's the index there? 0 and 0. Can I just put that? Index at 0, 0. The file cannot be specified. Stand underscore 0.png. That's a bit interesting. Let's see if I got that right. There's no underscore. Okay, I see. It's just stand and then a number. So I got that wrong. So I'll rectify my file path. Get it like that. Stop the program and I'll restart it. Oh, goodness me. So I'm gonna just wait for the program to load once more. Okay, it looks like UWP is loaded. Just about. Hopefully there's a nice bunny animation going on. Okay, I'm about to see what's going on. Okay, I see. Okay, now the thing is, I didn't set the range. Where am I? I overlooked something. So this needs to specify its upper index because this is for when I'm not doing anything, whereas this one is for when the D key is pressed. So what I can do is put a breakpoint here, change that to 8, and then start the program again. And hopefully the rabbit should be moving around. And there we go, guys. Can you see that? So the rabbit is moving. So I've passed the animation frames. And the animation is a little bit choppy, but at least the animation is there. Okay. Now I think it might be an interesting go-to to work on the camera a little bit. But in order to define camera behavior, what I tend to do with my workflow is to define this kind of overarching coordinate system such that even because the way it works with translation and basically moving around the screen is that we are basically just translating our assets across the screen in the viewport. But what happens if we use a property, say the x-axis property for the rect structs, and we happen to rely on that direct value to translate player movement? Now that might be a little bit risky because what tends to happen is that when you, I might see if I can throw up an example just to help you guys, illustrate this to you guys. But then there's going to be a lot of strain on my end of the stream, so I'm not going to do it just yet. I was going to put up a video. But anyway, let's say you translate across the screen, you increment some x value so that you can move to the right-hand side. What happens if you change the camera such that the camera pans left and right and you still rely on that value to translate your character across the screen? As far as the video game program is concerned, there has been player translation, but what has really happened is that the player has indeed translated the sprite itself, but some overarching world coordinate system has to keep track of where in the virtual space that character is. So what I would propose to do is to create a new class. Let's see where we are. So I'm going to collapse controllers, maybe under models. I'm going to create a new class. I'm thinking of making it a static class or just a normal class with static objects inside. That works too. But then accessing the class statically, I think, is quite favorable as well. Doesn't really make too much of a difference. I'll say something like world coordinates. CS coordinates, if that's what coordinates, right? Now I'll just wait for the program to load up. Okay, excellent. For the sake of argument, let's keep things very simple. So I'm going to say something along the lines of public static. First, I'll leave a comment. Say world coordinates of the main player. Make it double values, double value, and I'll say x position equals 0. Public static double y position Okay, so now that's all well and good. These are public fields which I don't recommend, and so I will take the initiative to make them private. And I will make public properties to access the private fields. So I'll say public static double x position I'll say something like get. I don't know if I do this right. There we go. Yeah, sweet. But I'm going to change that. Like such. Wow, I'm really messing up my bracketing. So I'm going to return a value here. X position. I'm going to say x position equals value. Alright, let me see what I'm doing wrong here. We'll click on return a value, okay, that's fine. Okay, so y position. So now this public property is just exposing the private field in question. So here we go. So now we have static access to x position and y position. If I go back to the draw call, the idea is that every time we translate the player, their x position needs to update either incrementally or decrementally. So in this simple example, because we're hitting the D key, we're going to follow the WASD setup. That means we're indicating to the game we want to progress to the right. So I'll say something along the lines of, every time we're constructing the rect, instead of just passing, okay, so I have this x-axis value already, but I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to use the world coordinate version instead. So like world coordinate should have access to what I need, x position plus equals, hopefully that works. There we go. Similarly, we want another precondition that evaluates for left movement. Again, there's more optimal ways to sort this out, but for now, it's going to be as simple as I've just demonstrated. In that we are kind of repeating code a little bit, but again, it's just getting the idea out there, and then refinement can come afterwards. So when we hit A, we actually want to decrement the x position. So instead of plus equals, I'm going to say minus equals. And I'm going to reduce the speed a little bit. 8 is quite fast. Okay, so I'm up to speed here. So what is next? So we are actually, so just to recap, we are updating our world coordinate position like this. So let's have a little look at what's going on. Okay, let's take a little minute. I'll be right back, guys. Just going to quickly fetch my phone. So I'll be right back. Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. A little bit of a pause. Let's bring this back. Okay. Excellent. Sorry about that, guys. A little bit distracted. Okay, so we have the bunny over here. Now let's see what happens. Not much has changed in that I'm only using a different set of coordinates. Bunny doesn't want to animate to the left though, which is very fascinating. I wonder why that is. Let me see. X position minus equals. That's very strange. The only thing that changed was the post decrementation. So I'm not 100% sure why I'm not moving to the left. 208. Am I hitting the right key? Guess I have to debug this a little bit. So if I go ahead and press A. Okay, it's not computing that. That's very strange, but when I hit D, it does compute, as you can see. Oh, that's very strange. Maybe my keyboard's not working or something. That's very strange. I'll have to map that to a different button. Let me change this to, I don't know, I'll change it to Q. See if this works. No, it's not working. Am I returning somewhere? So let me see what happens. So I'm going to actually literally evaluate all of this. So what is being pressed? Escape. Okay, I had this issue. Okay, I know what's going on. So, alright, cool. This is fascinating. So the reason that's returning escape, if I go to the input parser class, when the animation is effectively idle, when nothing's being pressed on the keyboard, I'm returning an escape value here. And it seems to be kind of overriding the key presses. I get it. It's because my input parser is not returning anything other than the D key. So what I need to do is make sure I'm returning every other key respective to the session. So I'm going to go ahead and hit A, and that should update on the draw core side of things. Quite interesting, isn't it? So now if I put this back to A, we should have the respective behavior. Be honest, I'm looking at this agenda and I'm just thinking, to create the scene, it's not... Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, why not? So the scene's going to be very simple. It's just going to be literally the ground. I'm just going to put the ground. There's not even going to be a background. There's just going to be the ground plane, just so we can at least understand what's going on, especially when we want to put parallax. Because if I go back to assets and I go to backgrounds and I hit terrain, I've got this neat little grass texture, a little pixelated on purpose, so it looks kind of nice. I'm going to use this. As soon as I can confirm the left and right movement is working. So now UWP is just about loaded up. Just waiting for the program to catch up. Shouldn't take too long now. I'm quite fascinated to work on the camera. There's so many ways you can work in a good camera system. So I'm kind of, I don't want to use the word curious, for lack of a better term. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how I'm going to approach this. I have a little bit of experience programming 2D cameras in these game projects, so I want to see what is efficient. I keep learning. I learn better ways to implement camera, not like camera functionalities, the more I do end up, building camera functionalities as I've been making these little projects and stuff. So I'm going to press D, and of course I transit to the right, press A, and I go to the back, to the left rather. So that's all well and good. We have something to work with here. Right, so creating a simple scene is going to be the next one. So now, what is this going to entail? So far, we've been dealing with one sprite sheet organized as a list entry for a list of lists, right? So now that we want to have this context of a different object that's not a rabbit, it's the grass, it only makes sense to enter this as a new entry in the list. So we're going to have like a second slot. So it's going to be like this. But now we're going to have a second slot. So we're going to have like this. But in this case, the second slot's only going to have one entry because it's just one grass texture like that. So I could say something like player sprites as an example, and I could say something like foreground sprite, something like that. And I've got like indexed at 0, indexed at 1, stuff like this. Oh, that was weird. What happened? Ah, okay. I don't even know what's going on. Anyway, you get the idea. Okay, so how am I going to do this? I'm going to go back to the load animated resources class. Now we want to what are we doing here? So every time we add a new entry, we're basically saying we want a new sprite sheet entry. So I'm going to add a second entry from here. And this time I'm going to target the, it's called backgrounds. I think the name was terrain. Let me just double check the file path. So backgrounds and terrain, and then it's the grass underscore 0.png. So I'll go ahead and say plus. Grab this like forward slash or backslash. So grass underscore. Let's put forward slash here to signify a new. We're going into the directory. So I think that's okay. We want to add a new entry to the frame list because the first frame list indicated that we have 9 frames of animation to work with the rabbit. But now we're going to, and you don't have to necessarily do that. You could use just the count of all the imported frames. But I don't know, I feel that it might be a good idea to discretely define these sort of properties because then you have more control, more direct access to what's actually going on. That's what I think, at least. So like this, and I'm leaving a little comment, grass, I say texture for lack of a better term. Okay, and so now, what's going to end up happening is that frame list has now a count of 1, 0 indexed. So from 0, signifying 1 entry, 0 index, now it's going to have 1, 0 index, so that actually means 2. Hopefully that makes sense. So we're going to evaluate this implementation twice over. So we're going to add a new entry in the sprite local file path list. We're going to loop through here, and the rest will take care of itself because this is a dynamically written algorithm, as long as things are stable. And so what I'm going to do is go back to the draw core. And I just have to reference the texture with my draw image function, and hopefully everything works out. If I've missed anything, we'll soon find out because I'll get an error. Let me see. So I want to always render the foreground regardless of what's going on. So it might be good to just place it here. This time in the sprite sheet, I'm accessing the first element, not the 0th element. It's only 1 frame, so we can animate it on 1. Doesn't really make a difference. Lower and upper index are going to be 0 respective because it's only 1 frame. And we're going to give it a position. So I'm going to go back to the world coordinates class. And I'm going to make a private static double. I'll say actually no, let's say ground plane equals, actually no, I didn't change that. Let's say grass texture equals 0, like that. Now I'm going to make a respective property. Alright, like that. Now we can access grass texture. We'll go back to the draw class. And now we're going to pass the grass texture. I'm going to keep it still for now, like this. I'm not sure where it should be on the screen. Go back to this. I have to estimate where on the screen it's going to be. Probably just underneath the feet of the bunny. I lost the class. Where's it gone? Grass texture, and I should probably say something like grass texture X position. To make more sense. And then we're going to have a respective Y position as well. I mean, we could use a vector 3, I want to say, or vector 2. It might be a better shout, actually. But for now, keep it as single, like literally just double values on their own. Let's do Control S, not Control A. Y position, and I'm gonna make the private field as well. Like this. Alright. Excellent. So now we should have access to the X and Y position of the grass texture. Update the Y position as well. Okay, that doesn't make sense. It's really strange, why can't I see it? Oh, because I'm not accessing the scope properly. Oops. That's better. Width and height, I auto changed that as well. Which I might as well use the wall coordinates. But then I could have a separate class. But then I have to change this. The name is a little misleading, but for now it will do. So I'll have like private static double grass height equals, I don't know, let's say 200. Private static double grass width. Make it 450. Like such. Change the Y X position to 0, keep it there. But I'll make this 140 for the Y position of the grass, where the grass spawns on the screen. Let's see. So width and height. Oh, I forgot to make the properties. So I'm just going to pass this. going to just change the capitalization so the program knows that there's a disambiguity between this and the field. Like such. Alright, so now we can publicly access grass width and grass height. Oh, I did that wrong though. That should be lowercase. This should be lowercase as well, because it's the fields we want to access, not the properties themselves. The property just exposes the fields out of scope. Anyway. So I'm going to search. I'm going to put grass width. Alright, world coordinate. And search for grass height. And hopefully you should already be starting to see the potential with all of this, such that, you know, you can, on the fly, you can modify these values, you can even make really cool effects. There's different things you can do. Don't know if it's worth checking out the documentation. Let me see if I can find features. You know, like, look at all the stuff you can do with Win2D. It's pretty interesting, very fascinating. I mean, you can do render to textures, load, save, and draw bitmaps, kind of like what we're doing. We're loading bitmaps. You can sprite batch, block compression. You can even render vector graphics. I think that's fascinating. I still need to learn how to do that. You can make powerful image processing effects, lighting, custom pixel shaders. It really gets interesting. Blur effects, and all sorts of different things. So combine that with the power of CSharp, and the sky truly is the limit. Thought I'd just mention that. Just an interesting little thing to know. Okay, so I'm going to make a little comment here. So render the grass texture. Render the player idle animation. Alright. Excellent. So what I'm going to do is hit F5. I'm going to see what happens. Oh goodness. Great. Hopefully that didn't change anything. How are we doing for time? Just under an hour, as I like to aim for like an hour or so. So this might be the last milestone to wrap up for this episode. Just waiting for UWP to load. Takes a little minute. I might as well tell you guys about the overall idea behind the C# masterclass. That's if the program doesn't load straight away, which it does, which it did. So basically, yeah, the C# masterclass is going to be a format kind of like this. This is the fundamentals, the foundation. However, I want to make it I want to make it much more interactive, a much more intimate experience, in the sense that you can give your feedback. I can, you know, kind of reciprocate the ideas and the guidance that you need in order to improve your journey learning how to code in C#. And that's the whole idea, basically. So as you can see, we do have the texture rendered over there. But I do recognize one mistake I have made, and that is I didn't give it a different bounding rect. So it's actually competing with the rabbit because they're both using the same rect struct. This is really strange behavior, I'm not going to lie to you guys. But it seems to me that there are workarounds. There are workarounds indeed, but we're going to fix this because, as you can see, when the bunny is standing still, the bunny disappears, which is incorrect behavior, but we're on the right track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly cross this out. I forgot to actually create another rect struct for the grass texture exclusively. I'm going to do that now. As you can see, for the grass, we're using the player rect, which is not correct. I'll actually make like a grass rect instead. Oh, goodness. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Private rect, grass rect, like such. Let me see, where am I saturating this? Down below, okay. And let's see what happens. Hopefully we'll have a more correct behavior. It is worth mentioning that the order, like the Z order of rendering, is determined by the sequential call of the draw image function. So really we want the grass behind the bunny, so I should be really drawing the grass texture here first, such that it's a foreground object, and then you obviously have the superimposing player character at the front of the focus of the viewport. So I'm going to have to change that too. Kind of the draw order, really, in essence. Let's sip on my mocha, which is nearly finished. Actually, this is coffee, but I made mocha earlier. I think that was mocha, I'm not sure. Okay. I will just taper off of what I was saying. So yeah, earlier I was mentioning about the C-Sharp masterclass. It's going to be a very interesting endeavor, and you're sure to benefit from the guidance. You know, you don't have to learn. It's not exactly like a strict curriculum per se. It's more like mentorship. It's more like a mastermind where ideas are shared. It's a forum. So do look forward to that. You'll see more updates also on my Instagram page, which I should probably link somewhere in the description. You'll find some more information on that. Let's see what's going on. So as you can see, we fixed the problem of the bunny disappearing, but it seems that the animation is not working now. I must have broken something, because the bunny's not animating anymore, but the bunny is translating, which is a good sign. Let me have a look at what's going on here. I'm trying to figure out what changed. I know what changed. It's the fact that we have, well, I did add another entry to the sprite sheet. I mean, I don't know if that makes a difference, but we're going to expose this and see what's going on. So I'm drawing here I'm calling animate sprites. I want to see the sprite sheet, so I'm going to hover over it. So we have here a count of 9 for the rabbit frames, as you can hopefully see. Count of 1 for the grass texture. So that seems to be fine. And I have like a null value here. It doesn't do anything. Should really be careful of that. Actually, I should get rid of that. So why won't the bunny render? There's something I'm not doing correctly. It's like in the back of my mind, but I can't remember what it is, because I've had this issue before, I think. I have a feeling I need to reconstruct my rects, but then why isn't it working here? This is fascinating. I'll give it the break again. I want to see what's going on. You know what? It could be something to do with the animation routine. Maybe there's a frame, maybe there's something out of index. So let's see what's going on here. Animation per frame index is 1, return spriteless animation frame. 0. This was working, so I'm not 100% sure what changed. So I'm reluctant to touch the animation logic. one thing I am noticing is that I should probably reconstruct this rect. To keep the behavior consistent. And I should just pass all my values. Okay. Not that I'm expecting a difference now, but I'm just really curious as to why Bunny's not animating anymore. Have some interesting behavior now. It must be something to do with the frame, maybe the sprite sheet I added. Implement the range. Make sure my rects are correct. Grass rect, player rect. Get rid of this qualifier, I don't really need it. Fascinating. Well, we are kind of overrunning time. So I might leave it here for now because we're just over 1 hour. But what have we achieved so far? Let's double check this before we wrap up. Well, today we animated, the main thing we did was to animate the player character, but obviously that functionality has just broken. I'm not too sure why. I have to investigate that off screen and then come back next time. And I'm going to also probably work off screen to just refine the scene itself, and then we can just kind of bounce off that for the next workshop. Anyone have any ideas? I'll have a quick look at the chat and see if there's anything going on there. Okay, excellent. Otherwise, I'll just wait for this to load, and then I'll wrap up this stream. It's been quite fun for this episode. Okay. Having some strange behavior going on here. What am I returning in terms of the key press, I wonder? Pressed key is escape. You know what? I should use this to my advantage, such that if escape is indeed the key that is recognized as idle state, then I can just kind of use it as a layer of validation for everything that renders when the bunny is idle. I did that wrong. Oh no, I did it correct. I just have to change that, so I'm going to change it to escape. Like such. For the grass, I still want that to render regardless of escape being pressed. So really I should take this out of scope of this for now. And now place it out of scope of any validation. So this is always rendering. And I continue. Not 100% sure what's going on there, guys. But I will leave it here for now for the sake of time. Thanks for tuning in. We did make a little bit of progress, and oh, look at that, the bunny's back. That's good. So I can actually move around. But it looks like I'm pressing something a bit wrong there. It keeps going to the left. When I press anything other than D, he kind of goes to the left. But I know there's probably quite a simple fix for that. And I think I just realized why. It's because the idle animation is post-decrementing, which I don't want to do. I just realized that now. I really suspect it's something to do with the rack struct itself is why the animation is not firing. I think I've got like stale frames or something like that. Honestly, that's my suspicion. But for now, I'm going to leave it here. Guys, thanks for tuning in. It was a pleasure, and I'll see you again during the week. Take care. Goodbye. See you. Just going to sign off the stream.